Hello, and thank you all so much for sticking around after our screening of Kelet. I am so thrilled to be here with the director and titular star of the film for a lovely little conversation. My name is Cyrus Cohen. I'm a programmer and the programming coordinator here at NewFest this year. And with no further ado, I'd love to bring them both out. Hi.
Hey, New York.
Great to see both of you. I'm so excited to get into talking about the movie. I absolutely adore it and absolutely fell in love with both of you in different ways, in front of and behind the camera throughout watching it, and just think it's a tremendous piece of cinema and a really, really beautiful and honest portrait of you as well.
Well, thank you. I know the title.
Oh. My first question is that I remember reading that the two of you met while recording a radio show. I'm curious, what was it that drew you to each other? What made you trust each other and know that this was a project that you felt comfortable doing with one another?
Well, actually, she invited me to her podcast or radio show called Mahara Usberkan. After she was herself doing a topic. Can't remember exactly what the subject was, but she invited me and another trans woman to be there as guests, and it was the first. Like I was really young. I had just come to Finland. I had never done anything like that. So my heart is racing now. But when I tell you, I was almost fainted while I was doing the podcast at her radio show, and what was going on that week was a very busy week for me. It was the podcast, and then on the weekend we had a ball, my first ball I ever walked, and I said to her, hey, if you want to come, this is what's happening, so come and see me perform. So she did, and I can, from there on I'll let you tell the story, how you were feeling.
Yeah, well, first of all, Cyrus, it's so good to be here, and we're so happy to be part of the festival. That means so much to us.
It does. Thank you so much.
And yeah, so yeah, we met in our podcast, and there was something about Kelet that really affected me that day, and Kelet, like she said, she invited me to her first Vogue ball, and I was like, is there ballroom culture in Finland? Like, what? I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know. It was quite small, the scene back then.
It was very small. I mean, you could count on like two hands how many people were there. Compare that to how the balls look like now. Oh, it's two different worlds.
Of course, from New York's perspective, if you would come here to the balls, maybe it would seem a bit
y'all would probably
small.
Still think it's like
but big in our scale, in the Finnish scale. So yeah, and Kelet invited me there, and I was like, I'm definitely going. And Kelet was a little nervous, of course, because it was your first runway walk. And the minute she stood on that runway, and what happened with her, and how she was just like a queen, and she grew, and it was amazing. And I was like, okay, a podcast, one interview with her is definitely not enough. We need to tell her story. We need to give her the platform to be able to tell her story. And I was like, I've never directed a film before, but I was like, if she says yes, we definitely are going to make a movie about her life. And that's how it started. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so when Susanne brought you the idea of, I want to make a movie about you, what were you thinking in that?
I said, initially I was like, no, thank you. I'm not interested. I don't want to do this. I'm not made for the spotlight. I don't want all those eyes on me. No, thank you. Even though I walk balls all the time, which was weird. But anyways, I said no because I was very nervous and I was very scared. But then, we continued talking about it. And, I knew her a little bit. And I knew her to be of, good character. So after a while, because she did seem very genuine and trustworthy, I did end up saying yes. And also because at the time I was kind of scared of saying no. Let me tell you something about how I was as a person back in those days. I was just so nervous as a person that I was the kind of person who would be scared to say no. So I would say yes to people all the time. And not to say that she pressured me at all. It was because at the end of the day, I'm very glad that I did this movie, because it was a, um, see, now you have to teach me the English word. See, now my brain is kind of getting fried. Gustful.
Growth.
It was like a growth experience for me. It kind of made me grow up. That's because uh, as as I used to call her while we were filming, not only was she the director, not only is she my dear friend, she was also my therapist for those 3 years that we filmed.
Mhm.
And she put me in these situations where uh, I was uncomfortable. She put me not uncomfortable in a bad way, but like challenging. She always challenged me throughout this whole filming of this movie. So, and I kind of got the idea that this was going to be like that when we were first communicating, which is why at the end I was feeling like if I didn't say yes to this, that I would be missing out. I know I'm rambling. That's what I do when I get nervous. I'm sorry.
I, I love hearing about this. I could listen to both of you ramble for hours. But I really appreciate hearing that. And yeah, I think once we're pushed outside of our comfort zones, that's when the most growth can often happen. And you certainly do see that over the course of the film. I didn't know that it was 3 years that you had shot, which makes sense, and because it's the scope of it is so wide, and you really see your life through all of its different journeys, the highs and the lows. But throughout, there's just so much honesty. And you definitely already touched upon the trust that was built between the two of you early on in your relationship. But I'm curious how that worked during the filming process. If there are moments when you, Colette, would feel like, oh, do I want to show everything on screen? Are there some things that I want to keep private, and how do I navigate that?
All the time. I come from my heritage and my background. We are people that don't accept anything that has to do with the LGBT. So it wasn't so much as what it was more. Girl, how does it? Let me just take a breath and do it again. I come from a culture where anything that has to do with LGBT is, frowned upon, to the point where it's dangerous to be out and, proud. So this is what was in the forefront of my mind throughout this whole, filming process. And Susan, like I said, she challenged me because this is a very important story to tell. I don't think there is, a documentary like this of a person who comes from my background that has ever been done. So um, there was a lot I was saying no to in the beginning. And from her, what ended up kind of changing a lot of those no's to yeses was she never pressured me. It was like, no, I'm not comfortable with that. She said, okay. She would give, her side of why she would want me to do this. And then she would leave it alone. And then I would sit with it after a while, think about it, be like, okay, it does make me uncomfortable. I am scared of, how people are going to react to this. If, some people see this and might make me a target, I'm really scared to put a lot of my personal, feelings and life out there. But at the end of the day, it would help so many more, probably. So uh, it was difficult in the beginning, and maybe the reason why it lasted 3 years was because in the beginning I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. No, you're not gonna film me without a wig and my hair. You're not gonna film me without makeup. No, I was saying all those things. And eventually I realized that I realized how important this was and how it was so much deeper than just me or my insecurities about my the way I look or my insecurities about my safety and who may come after me or not. So towards the end, yeah, it was. Um, I don't know how to finish this. That's how you can tell I'm a rambler. I don't ever know how to close a sentence. I just know how to begin or not. I never.
I really appreciate hearing that, and I fully understand that. Yes, this would be a very big undertaking and task for you just early on, especially navigating your own feelings about how to what are you comfortable with showing on screen, what are you not.
Yes. And especially because, and I just want to add, especially because I had just came from the UK, and the UK was where, well, UK and Kenya, but it was where the whole thing with my family happened. I came out, and all the crazy shit happened right before I came
Mhm.
to Finland. And when I came to Finland, we started filming like a month or a little while after that. So I was in a very vulnerable place
Mhm.
when we first started. So I think that had to do with a lot of a lot of the reason why it was so difficult for me to open up, or feel comfortable in the beginning.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, that is very, very logical and understandable from just like a human standpoint. You want to protect yourself, and in that moment, venturing outside your comfort zone is not necessarily like what everyone's instant reaction or instinct is going to be. So it's incredibly brave of you to do that, and I applaud you tremendously because I agree with what you're saying that this film it meant a lot to me, and I imagine it'll mean so much to so many other people who watch this around the world, regardless of what their situation is, with their families, with being comfortable being themselves in public. It's just it's a really tremendous work. So thank you
Thank
both of you
you.
for making
Thank
it so
you
much.
for that.
Um, I'd love to hear about what you've been up to since the film ended, for both of you, and what projects you have going on. Obviously, it's a pandemic, so
That's what I was about to say. The film ended, and then 2 weeks later, quarantine shut down. Everything was shut down, girl. So I think a lot of the upward trajectory that the film could have gone towards, and all that kind of stuff, the pandemic came away at that. But we did go on tour for the film that is still continuing. Um, What else? Our group House of Gucci Finland. If there are any Gucci, watching their, any movies in the festival, but
Oh gosh, you guys should go and perform in New York next year. Let's hope.
listen, let's hope. I don't know what this, I don't know what Corona is gonna look like in New York, especially next year. So I'm not in a hurry to leave this country. But we are still performing and touring as a group.
amazing.
Obviously, not so much due to Corona, but that's fine because we also have a podcast that we're
Hey,
doing.
what's the podcast?
The JLO podcast, which is not going to be much help or any useful to you because it's in Finnish, unfortunately. So you won't be able to understand it.
For Finnish viewers who are interested, they can certainly
Yes.
check it out. Um, I'm
But
so glad that you both were able to stop by. I do have one more question before we wrap up. I would love to hear, just because the film is so much about friendship ultimately, and about the impact that a chosen family can have, that the people around you who lift you up can really be the most important people in your life. And I would love to hear about how everyone else in the film is doing these days.
well, me and Lola still live together.
Amazing.
We've had some more fights. Ultimately, you know, that's my sister. I love her. She's doing well. She is working for Yle. It's
The Finnish National Broadcast Company.
yes, she's doing some work there.
Yes.
Ofimia, you know, of course we're doing the podcast and the stuff together, but she's currently studying to become in communications, so that has to do with communications. Everyone is doing very well.
And you performed in when we had the Pride, the Finnish Pride that was just now, and then you performed. You had a TV performance, which was
Yes,
amazing.
we had a
House of
TV
Gucci.
performance for Pride, which is only like 2-minute performance, but
still,
it was a big show. Alma was there. I know some of you probably know Alma. That's the international star.
Mhm.
So we've been doing very well.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And thank you both again so much for taking the time to chat with me about the film. It's been wonderful to meet you. And
Great.
Thank you for inviting us.
into this.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to say to our audience before we head out?
Well, I hope you have a great festival and so much love from Finland.
Stay safe. Wear a
Stay
mask,
safe.
honey.
And come to Finland to see these girls perform and yeah.
Or
Or
we'll come to you. Just
invite-
stay there. Stay there. 'Cause
Exactly.
we will come to you shortly. Don't worry about it. Once everything is all good, we will be there.
That sounds amazing. Thank you both again.
Thank you so much.
And thank you all so much for sticking around and watching this. I hope that you are enjoying your festival experience, and head to our website, newfest.org, to check out more of our offerings. We have over 120 films from 29 countries, so check them out. Thank you so much.